This tutorial is demonstrating how to set up a monitor with a small mixing console and one power amp and one wedge monitor over there. So the leads and cables that I'm going to be using are here. We have a jack to jack lead, 1/4 inch jack that will be used to connect the mixing desk to the amplifier. Have a speak on to jack cable used for connecting the amplifier to the monitor, and finally an XLR lead for plugging in and sound checking our microphone. So those are the 3 leads I'm going to be using. The other bits of equipment, we have a small 16 channel live sound mixing console by Soundcraft, obviously one power amplifier and one wedge monitor. There are some other bits of gear and stuff here, but you can ignore that for this particular tutorial. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is working my way through the signal chain. I'm just going to plug the microphone into channel 1. So I'm going to use an XLR lead to do that. If we come round to the back of the mixing desk, and you can see here the various 16 channels, their inputs as well. And we're going to plug the microphone into channel 1. I'm going to plug the microphone into the end of the XLR cable. Quite hard to do with only one hand. Okay, so microphone is plugged in to channel 1 on the mixing desk. The next aspect is connecting the mixing desk to the power amplifier. So I'm working my way logically through the signal chain here. So again, round on the back of the mixing desk, we have a look at the inputs and outputs. Hard to see on this particular camera. What I'm looking for is auxiliary outputs. We're going to use auxiliaries for connecting monitors and connecting external effects units as well. Auxiliaries are just another form of output from a mixing desk, which have been discussed in other video tutorials. So the auxiliaries on this desk are located down here. We have 3 of them. So I'm going to connect auxiliary number 1 into the input of my amplifier. My amplifier is up here. You can see the back of the amp there. We've got various connections here. We've got speak-on connections out to speakers, and we've got the input section over here. We've got 2 options for the input section. We've got A and B. It's because it's a stereo amplifier, so we could actually have 2 separate monitors running off of this one amp. And we've got an XLR input balanced, and we have a balanced jack input as well. I've got a standard jack to jack lead here, so I'm going to use that to connect to my input. I'm going to plug it into input A. And final connection is to plug the speak-on cable into the monitor from the amplifier. So that's going to be the next step. So again, remembering that I've plugged into input A and I've connected it to auxiliary number 1 on the mixing desk, and then plug the speak-on cable into output A. Okay, run my leads down to my monitor. Okay, and I'm going to plug in the jack lead into an input. On this particular monitor there's 2 inputs, they're parallel inputs. You can plug into either one, it doesn't matter. Also you could connect into one and then sort of daisy chain into another monitor by plugging another jack lead into this and into another monitor for having more monitors and more power on stage. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is sound check the microphone signal and make sure it's coming out to the monitor. So last thing to go on is power, making sure the amps are turned down. It's the front of the amps. There's volume control for the left and right channels, so that would be A and B on the back of the amp. We're only going to be using A in this example. You could set up a secondary monitor mix if you want and use B, but we're not going to for today. Power goes on, and I'm going to turn the volume up about halfway. I don't need to crank it up full. Okay, so the next stage is to sound check the microphone. I'm going to talk into the microphone whilst doing this. Now, the sound checking process has been discussed in another tutorial, so I'm going to skip describing what I'm doing here, and you can have a look at my sound checking video tutorial. Okay, 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2 1 2, fantastic. Okay, so in this particular example I'm not using any main monitors or main speakers, so I'm not going to be worrying about the master faders over here. All I'm interested in is getting my sound to come out of my monitor using auxiliary number 1. So on the channel that the microphone is plugged into, which is channel 1, I'm going to find auxiliary number 1 and I'm going to turn that up slightly. In addition to turning up the auxiliary, you're going to make sure that this pre-button underneath is switched. I have discussed this in another tutorial. Pre-button basically means my send level going to the monitor is independent of this fader, so I can turn this up and down and mix the relative levels for the audience, but I'm not going to be affecting the level that's going to stage, so therefore not frustrating the musicians on stage. Okay, and then the final thing is to turn up the master auxiliary, which is over here. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hey hey. 2 2 2. Okay, and we have nothing. The reason for that is made the silly mistake of the mute switch being activated there. Okay, so now we can hear that coming through the monitor. I'm going to put the master level up about halfway, and then I can balance my mix going into the monitors from the channel by turning the aux down or turning it up, and that's how you set up a basic monitor with a small PA system.